Will it be halfway egalitarian in terms of equality, or will it be fully? Okay, let's be honest. That's all I'm saying. And say, how are we going to get there from here? How are we going to see beyond this and say, wow, I get it now. I'm coming out of my stupor, man. I see how I've been taken to believe somehow I can find happiness while neglecting his because he's weak or stupid or lazy or he's on drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. No, no, no. That person is your brother or your sister. And the only way to look at that person is as yourself. And you want to lift that person. You want them to think highly of themselves so that you can think more highly of yourself, not about ego, but about self-esteem, about what you're worth to God, the only opinion that counts. This is the one that gives us our joy, our peace of mind, our true happiness, that gives us security, that provided all our needs. Who put the fruit on the fruit trees? Who put the fish in the ocean? You get it? We only want those things. It's not the money we're after. We're after the stuff. We want security. Okay? Now back to checks and balances. I got into colas. A cola is a perfect form of checks and balances. Now, if you look up the dictionary definition for checks and balances, it probably means something a little different from what I'm referring to. I guess what I'm referring to in terms of checks and balances is if we've got a class of people, a special interest group, no matter how small, medium, or large that group is, and how many different branches it has, because that's what it comes down to. We've got one evil industrial complex after another. And so you've got, this plethora of special interest groups, these plethora of, industrial complexes, and all these people got their fingers in the cookie jar, okay? So it's a monster of a problem. So what I'm talking about here is like a pressure relief valve. That's really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about accountability. I'm talking about a counterbalance, like a scale. If you put X amount of weight on the scale, then you've got to put X amount of weight on the other side of the scale in order that it be balanced. You understand? So the people that are raising your cost of living, they're manipulated through market manipulation, through price fixing, price rigging. Look up these terms. They're very simple to understand. Economics is super simple. Super, super simple. And they want you to think it's difficult. It's not. Adam Smith got into a whole lot of the history and the minutiae of economics when he wrote his book, The Wealth of Nations. But if you read the book, okay, and get the good edition, and it's the gold and orange covered one. I can't remember the name of the writer offhand, but you'll hit these little nuggets, these tidbits that really help you understand that the basic elements, the basic components of economics really are simple. And the problem is that you've got all these people that are constantly manipulating markets in one way or another. And if you go back to ancient Rome when they were doing coin clipping, that's a good way to understand with how you're getting cheated. Okay, because that's what inflation does. When they cause your cost of living inflation, because there's two kinds of inflation, and some economists don't understand that the general public can get confused if they don't explain this. If you're talking about currency inflation, that's a good thing. You want your money to be worth more every day. That's what sound currency would bring you. I'll get into how that would work later. But here's the thing about coin clipping. This is unsound currency. This is how they do it, through cost of living inflation. They'll shrink packages. They'll use every trick in the book so that they can hide it. And it's a taxation on the general public. Why isn't it? What does it matter if you've got to pay your taxes to Caesar or you got to pay it to your next door neighbor? Okay? It's like this. In the past, if you go back in ancient history, you'll see there was, a few kings and queens on the earth, that would run the big show. So you have these giant feudal systems. But in a way, it was better because the masses were all together. And then you had this itty-bitty tiny elite at the very top. Kind of like the situation they probably have in China. But China's a miserable country. But, we want to go as far away from the Chinese rule of government as we can. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But today, you see these overlords, they claimed ownership of all the property. All right. And so today what we've got is we've got landlords. Okay, a landlord is a euphemism for an overlord, and now they're your next door neighbor, and so they buy up properties. I've seen situations where single-handedly a guy could come into your town and create a housing shortage simply by teaming up with the Federal Reserve Bank, using other people's money. They call it OPM, and whose money is it? It's that fiat, that junk currency that they just print up out of thin air, with no accountability. They do whatever they want, and so you're teamed up with Satan, basically, because at the very head, at the very top of the pyramid, is this money printing class. Okay? And so remember who you're teaming up with. So when you become a landlord, i.e. an overlord, okay, then that's who you are. Your interests are not in the interest of your next door neighbor, who is a peasant struggling to be a homeowner, to be a landowner himself. All right? Because now you're an overlord, and if he gets out from under your thumb and he's free, you're no longer able to subjugate him and oppress him with him paying rent to you in perpetuity. So this is the system we've got. And you know what, folks? I really don't see a political solution, but I'm going to fight as hard as I can and recommend that everybody out there fight as hard as they can to explain the truth simply and to stand up to these people and at least let them know that you're empowered and you're going to sting their ears as best you can. Anybody, anywhere, any establishmentarian that's got their head buried in the sand, is say, it's time to stop burying your head in the sand and jump ship and get away from these establishmentarians and set the captives free. And how are you going to set the captives free? Prosperity across the board. That's it. Everybody wants the same things as you. We have a lot of commonalities as human beings. Okay, so just understand that fundamentally, that we all basically want the same things. We all want security. We all want prosperity. We all want freedom. We all want to work and feel appreciated and useful. All right? So I know I seem to get off track, but it's all interrelated, folks. These are very simple truths I'm trying to convey to you. And, to understand checks and balances, you've got to understand the counterweight. So it's, not a question of what came first, the chicken or the egg, because they would like us to wonder that. That's why we always have people on the mainstream media, and it gets out that, a wage increase. Well, employers are going to have to lay people off, so, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Well, wait a minute. If you're making more money, you'll need less hours anyhow. So if we shared the pain, you get what I'm saying? So we shoot for full employment. Okay, we start making the demands and saying, look, we find it inexcusable. Okay, we're trying to make progress here and have a more and more civilized society, not a less and less civilized society. Okay, because what you got going on is decivilization. That's what you're doing. You're anti-civilization. You're pro-social Darwinism, which is dog eat dog, rat race, survival of the meanest. I get it. You want us to believe the earth is overpopulated. You're a miserable gaggle of thugs. You people at the very top. You sicken me. You policymakers. You're the ones to blame. You're the ones. You ones that think you're so smart. You're not so smart. You're going to go to hell. You're going to suffer wildly with weeping and gnashing of teeth. No more righteous people to oppress. Man, Satan, you're getting your butt kicked because the light of truth is descending upon the earth. Our time has come. The day of reckoning is near, okay, because God's will is going to be established. Good will prevail. That's what's going to happen here on earth. And if you're not ready for it, whoever you are out there, you better that's my advice, is get ready for it. Get ready for a fully egalitarian society, equality, where money in all its sundry forms has no role at all. Okay, that's it. Period. End of story. That we share. And what we find out is if there's no hoarding, there's plenty for everybody. Even today, if we stopped hoarding stuff, that everybody could have plenty. Everybody on the face of the earth could have all the clean water they want to drink, all the healthy food they want to eat, all the housing they want anywhere in the world. Okay? This is the world that we could have now. Now. Okay, so if you think that justice won't prevail on the earth, think again. And yes, I find it sometimes disheartening And I find it pretty depressing sometimes and scary what I see coming upon the world, what I've had to witness my whole life since the banking coup d'etat, the assassination of JFK, the money printing coup d'etat, I should say. Okay, and this unsound currency with no checks and balances, how do they get away from it? We, the people, try to set up regulatory agencies that keep these people in check. You know, watchdog groups, you know, like the Securities and Exchange Commission. And all these people, they say, oh my God, you mean these people will bring me trunks full of cash? You know, I can get away with this because there's so many people in on it. It's just a feeding frenzy of corruption. Oh my God, God help us all. I mean, this is bad, folks. And there's some badness coming to people. Okay, all you whose hearts are not with God, you revel in your injustice. You know, you like the system. It's worked well for you. Okay, I feel sorry for you. Believe me, I do. I really do. Because you're really not smart. You're not nearly as smart as you think. You've been deceived. It can happen to intelligent people. But if you're vested in this system, in this money-based reality that's been foisted on us from birth, I feel sorry for you. So you understand how simple it is to understand how a COLA is a check and balance, a very real, very tangible, very concrete, very effective check and balance, counterbalance. You understand? So let's say, imagine society is just one little round table. We're sitting around, and we're saying, hey, what do you mean it cost a living adjustment? So this issue comes up at the round table. We say, we want to blame labor first because they're the messenger. They say, well, no. Then you look beyond, you say, well, what happened? Are they justified? Say, yeah, my cost of living went up. Okay, I'm not unjustified. I'm not being unreasonable. I'm not being greedy. I'm just saying I'm trying to keep my head above water. I'm trying to keep a semblance of a standard of living here. I want to have security for my wife and my children, just like you. Okay, is that unreasonable? Who would dare say that's unreasonable? You sicken me. Don't do it. Don't be evil. And I wasn't using that, you know, to spin from Google, okay? Because don't be evil is a good message. I mean, isn't that basically what Jesus taught over and over and over again? Let's not be evil. Let's come and reason together like the Bible says, okay? That's all I'm talking about. Let's come and reason together. Okay, so we go beyond it. We say, okay, your cost of living went up. So let's say why? Was it justified? Did the cost of living go up because there was a famine in the land? Because everybody got hedonistic and fat and happy, and then they stopped working, and so they stopped being productive? Or if it's weather related, that, you know, God created a famine so that we would get busy or for whatever reasons, you know, and they would say, no, there wasn't a famine. If anything, we had this bountiful crop, and, you know, crops, and the workforce has been very productive. In fact, you know, people are you know, not getting as much work as they would like. You know, so that's the reality there. So we can't blame labor. We can't blame God for a famine. So who do we blame? We have to say, well, let's go right down to the source. Let's say what commodities went up. Housing, an essential human need. Okay, that went up dramatically in my lifetime. Okay, in my hometown of Santa Cruz, California, although I was born in Los Angeles, I call Santa Cruz my hometown because I spent most of my life in that area. Went to school, kindergarten, first grade, second, third, not third, but I was in Europe for a while, but came back from Europe, so I attended 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and I missed my freshman year, but I also went to Santa Cruz High for my sophomore, junior, and senior years, and then I went to college there at Cabrillo College. But you know, so I call Santa Cruz my hometown. But there, in 1964, my folks bought a house for $8,000. That's when minimum wage. If you can look up the statistics, if I got it right, it was somewhere around $1.40 an hour. My dad actually was on a VA pension. He had multiple sclerosis. So my mom never worked. And so 3 kids in the family. So it was 5 people altogether. He was able to take care of the whole family and purchase a home on a VA pension. And it was low because he never got high up in the military. He got maybe a sergeant or something. He wasn't in there that long in the United States Marine Corps, but anyhow, he was able to take care of the whole family comfortably. They purchased a home. And remember, this $8,000, this was an arm's length transaction. And what that means is it wasn't a foreclosure. It was no